You are looking live on a Monday morning, a beautiful Monday morning, February 19th, 2024. Today's show is brought to you by the Masters of Business Creation at the University of Utah. Do you want help growing a startup company, Garrett?
Of course.
Enroll in the Master of Business Creation program at the University of Utah's David Eccles School of Business, a top-ranked school for entrepreneurship.
I'll take help with anything, but this is a really cool program that is not completely theoretical. You do obviously learn, but then you get to apply it. Big leg up is what I think that course enables people to have.
It's available online or in person. So for you, both of those are good. And mixes practical support with the professional degree program. Learn more and apply to the Masters of Business Creation at eccles.utah.edu/MBC. That's eccles.utah.edu/MBC. We have with us today the great Martin Miranda. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. I'm doing great. I've never been introduced as the great.
You're the great. You're one of the greats.
I appreciate that.
Big bill to live up to now.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell us, like, before we got on air, you told us, like, you were born in Mexico, right?
Yeah, I was born in Mexico City, and I lived in 3 countries. So Mexico, Nicaragua, and the United States.
How long were you in Mexico?
Let's see, I was born there. Moved to Nicaragua when I was a baby, so I was like 1.5
Okay.
or something. Only lived in Nicaragua for a year. And I moved to the United States when I was 12. Didn't know any English. I did go to a bilingual school in Mexico, but I mean it was like the numbers and the colors, and that was kind of it. And I'm turning 32 next month, so I've been most of my life in the United States now.
Is it embarrassing for you, Clint, when immigrants from other countries speak better English than it is for me?
Than you do, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was told that
Way embarrassing.
it tends to be a thing because like you kind of have to learn, like you actually have to learn what you're saying, and
Yeah.
it's kind of it's a different thing because you have a different kind of expectation too. I was fluent within a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
Picked it up quick, but there was an accent there, and people can't tell where I'm from, which is funny.
Yeah.
Do you know who else is really good at this? Is Diogo over at Album. He
Yep.
didn't speak any English, came here, and he speaks excellent English.
Oh, it's
I mean, I can
amazing.
have an actual conversation with him.
It-
That's
Unlike when I'm talking to you, Garrett, I don't even understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I was insulting myself and propping up others.
Yeah.
It's
I
amazing.
appreciate that. Diogo speaks Portuguese, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Brazilian.
Tell us, so you have EventStack.
Yeah.
What were you doing? What's Fatfish Media?
Catfish Media. So, Catfish Media was my first company ever. I
like the name, by the way.
Thank you. I thought it was a cool, playful name. If you ever see the first logo, it's an F and a D for Fatfish Designs. That was the original name. And in between, there's a negative space where you see a fish. Pretty cool. And that's the extent of my creativity right there. So I started Fatfish as a design studio, or just designing stuff for people, essentially marketing assets. Then I partner with Isaac Gonzalez, my co-founder at Fatfish Media, and we launched an AV company. After 2 years-ish, it was 2 years and 9 months, I was offered an exit, so I took it, and I was up. And that was Fatfish. It was a cool thing that we did, and they're still going strong. Fatfish is actually doing a bunch of really cool stuff. There you go. You can see some of their stuff. Yeah, I mean, giant customers like WGU, Lyft, Facebook, WeWork, Adidas, and
Dude, what an incredible thing to start here. This is incredible.
Yeah, these guys are pulling in $20 million now. So definitely shouldn't have exited, maybe. They're doing awesome. Isaac.
So what do? They do like live event production and things like that?
Yep. So it's very similar to like web AV or Cornerstone. It's very experiential design. They do a lot of stuff for education, so a lot of things for universities and MLM companies locally, stuff like that. They have a great production team, and the company that bought me out, they're called Clear Lamp. They do an incredible job. They were essentially in entertainment, wanted to kind of dip their toes into corporate, and they did a great job. They're killing it.
That's cool. And then what did you do after that?
Did a bunch of stuff. This is how I met Scott Paul, the famous, infamous.
Yeah, everybody has a crazy Scott Paul connection.
Everyone's got a crazy Scott Paul connection. I was doing something called Cube at the time, and it was such a cool idea. We're essentially like the Uber of office space, right? Like you land somewhere, you want to go pick up a space to work out of, and you can just book it. And Scott's like, that's really cool. It's going to change the games. Anyway, we met through that.
Somebody's doing that now here in Utah.
Matt Riley.
Yeah, Matt Riley
is killing it. Yeah. I talked to him recently about that. And I essentially had to take Cube behind the barn and shoot it.
Yeah. Old Yeller style?
Yep. Right before WeWork took a dump. Because we foresaw all of that coming. And it's like, how is this tiny little startup going to survive when the behemoth is going belly up? So decided to pull the trigger on that one and pull out. But did launch a logistics company called Day One Logistics. That was pretty cool. I was like, I want to diversify. I want to do different things. Eventually shut that down.
What did that do? Like helped with shipping and...
Yeah, we were mostly doing like transportation for audiovisual companies.
Okay.
Like nationwide trucking, stuff like that. And then I took like a 6-month, 9-month break where I was like, I need to focus on like something that actually has merit. And that's when we launched EventStack. We actually were supposed to launch March of 2020. And then there was this thing called COVID.
Not ideal.
No, especially on an events company, right?
Yeah.
And we decided to postpone our launch. We launched September 2020. And it's a crazy model. We essentially take underutilized spaces, primarily churches, and turn them into corporate venues.
Really?
It's pretty nuts. Yeah. You can see some of
I'm on your site right now.
There you go. They're all over the United States. There's a few dozen more that are going to be popping up. But, we take advantage of space that just sits empty during the week. And it's high-end stuff, right? Like high-end equipment. These people are dumping millions into this. So we essentially take the two most valuable assets, their real estate and their audiovisual equipment, and make money with it.
So what do people do? If someone comes in here, they want to organize an event. They click on like one of these venues that you've got on here, and they can rent it out. Do you guys help them like with the production, or are you guys just doing the rental? And by the way, you have your own centers.
We call them all EventStack.
Okay.
It's kind of part of our. It's just a crazy model, right? It's all organic. We've put $0 into marketing, a few $1 million in revenue. Company's doing well, but the concept essentially, we do 3 things at EventStack. We enable the venue, so whoever we're partnering, we enable that space to be actually rentable. We sell it, market the space, and we actually service it. So we're the entire pipeline from A through Z. Primarily my experience being in corporate audiovisual and corporate experience creation. We wanted to do something that was sustainable and that essentially was able to cut the cost by anywhere between 40 to 60%. And that's actually where we sit compared to most conventional services. We end up being over 50% lower in cost. So it's a great option for, a lot of internal meetings. We work with a lot of
sales kickoffs, things like that.
SKOs, trainings, that kind of thing. If you want to go big time experiential, go rent the Salt Palace, go big, right? But like,
don't rent the Salt Palace.
What was that?
Don't rent the Salt Palace.
Not anymore. Or the Hyatt Regency now.
No,
that's probably better space. But you see what I mean?
I'm
like,
just kidding. The Salt Palace. I just hate anything that's run by the government.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir here.
We get political way quick. Screw the government.
Yeah, I mean, I have higher hopes in private organizations that have less divided interests.
Right.
Well,
personally.
when you're when it doesn't really matter who books your space, or even if the space gets booked, that's kind of an interesting thing when your whole job is to attract really interesting events, companies, and things like that. But when it doesn't really matter, that's weird.
It's
Whereas, like, if
mediocre.
you owned the space, if you owned the Salt Palace, my word, you'd be tripping over yourself to get various people in there and, generate a lot of revenue things. Anyways, totally different story.
So the First Lutheran Church of Hastings, Nebraska has a really cool venue. It's magnificent. They want to monetize it because it sits dormant 5 days, 6 days out of the week.
Yeah.
They could partner with you guys,
Mhm.
and you don't even have to worry about being in a cool building because it's 100 years old and magnificent in every sense of the word. Win-win, right? Like, they get some extra revenue.
Yep, they're able to monetize their two most expensive assets, their real estate and the audiovisual.
Yeah.
We ran a pilot in Utah. This is where we saw, which is crazy, right? Like, you take the place where you're going to find the least amount of those kinds of churches, which is Utah, as far as the whole United States is concerned. And within a year and a half, with $0 in marketing, we brought in 700,000 plus in sales, just because the space sold itself.
Yeah.
And this is all over the United States. And when you compare the amount of infrastructure available here versus everywhere else in the United States, we feel like there's some really cool stuff that we can do. It, in 23, I made one ginormous mistake, if we want to talk about that.
We definitely want to talk about huge mistakes you've made. That's mainly the goal.
That's the topic.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, there's a lot. You can kind of write an entire book from that. No, one of them was we started to build tech, and we started to build apps, and started to, like, sponsorship management stuff. We built registration tools. We built a whole logistics tools, and it was awesome. The tech was cool, but when you're bootstrapped, probably not the right thing to do unless you go out and raise money, right? Learned that the hard way.
So did you just scrap it?
Just did, like, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We literally, like, man, I use the whole taking behind the barn analogy a lot, but we didn't shoot it. We slaughtered it. Like, we beheaded the thing. It's like, this thing is sucking up dollars, sucking up time. Let's focus. Let's hyper focus on the three things we do really well, which is enable venues, service them, sell them, and service them. Those are the three
There
things we
is
do.
no substitute for focus. Period.
No.
Like, by the way, I've made that mistake a million times at Silicon Slopes. We we could do that. And so we spend 6 months doing it. And they're like, what? We don't want to do this. And now we have, like, this thing we got to maintain and this brand or whatever it is that we decided to do, right? And it's like, no, why did we even say we should do that? We only do, like, one thing here, right?
Yep.
But, and let's go back to that. And we learned that lesson over and over and over again. So those who can focus really well and, like, here's what I do best, and let's really, really nail that before you scale it.
Nail it before you scale it. And we thought we had that one nailed. In fact, we nailed the concept of enabling venues, marketing them and servicing them. But sometimes you just got to learn how to gauge where your energies are going to go to. That had higher margins of increase than starting something from scratch. That makes sense. That's what I learned. Focus on what is working really well, make it go bigger before you try to sort of build something else. And this is if anyone that knows me knows this, is I'm extremely impatient. And this is something my life has completely changed in the last, 6 months.
Whoa. How so?
Like, completely. Everything. From hyper focusing on EventStack to taking a job with Nuri. I'm now their COO, and I'm working on reiterating the product, making a more exciting product, taking advantage of the 3,000 to 5,000 registrations we get per day through the software, and kind of doing what I wanted to do with EventStack, but with something that's actually working, right, with Nuri. So that's one element. Many other things have changed. My everyday changed. The time I wake up changed. The time I go to bed changed. What I eat changed.
The better, right? All these are for the better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like, it's a good thing.
What time do you go to bed?
Anywhere between like 9:30 and 10 at the latest.
Ooh, I went to bed at 10:30 last night. It was beautiful.
Yeah, well, I used to go to bed.
Gosh.
Cause you're talking to the guy that used to go to bed at like 2 a.m.
Same.
Like go to bed at 2 a.m. Wake up at like 7ish, in a panic. I need to run out the door, kiss the kids, kiss the wife, leave, and that is not a very sustainable model for living. So, literally turn my life upside down over the last 6 months. And
so you go to bed then. In what time are you waking up?
6.
And what do? You work out?
Cold
plunge. You do the cold plunge. I've seen a video of you in a cold plunge.
I do cold plunges. This is crazy, but I still can't bring myself to do it in the mornings. Yeah. It scares the living crap out of me.
Well, it's so cold.
Yeah. No. I mean,
it's in the name.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I do it. I do it for the most part when I'm feeling like I'm spinning in my head. It takes me out of a spin.
Yeah,
that's what it does mostly.
It's really has incredible mental health benefits.
Yep. Yeah, we can talk about mental health for sure. But yeah, extreme mental health benefits. My morning, the way it looks, I get up, I pray with my wife, read with my wife. Sometimes if I'm too tired, I go back to sleep for like 30 more minutes. Kids get up right at 7, and we have a whole ritual. They do school. We homeschool them, so we do some school with them. We do family worship. We eat together and make coffee, and then eventually just head out the door. That's my morning. But that fundamentally changed only 4 months ago, maybe.
It's a great morning.
It's a cool morning. It's a lot more chill. It's chill in my personality, just wants to get out the door, right? So like forces me to kind of like ground myself. And there's mornings that are just like difficult altogether, just because of I could be doing all this stuff right now, but instead I'm choosing not to. And it can be anxiety inducing, but altogether it's made me better because I'm actually present.
Are you Catholic?
I'm Christian.
And so how important is faith to you? It sounds like you're spending a lot of time on that every day.
It's the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
It ultimately shapes everything for me. It shapes how I treat my family, and it shapes how I treat others. I think loving your neighbor as yourself is so extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And if that's the standard, holy crap, we all suck. And so taking that single standard right there alone, loving God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself, like, it's not easy to do. So that sums everything up for me.
That's cool.
So it is the most important thing of everything I do, because ultimately you don't want to build product that you don't want to use yourself. Mm-hmm. Right? And so if you apply that, you want to build something that's good, that people are going to use, that it's going to, make their life easier, or it's going to make them a little happier, or whatever that looks like. It begins with that principle in mind. Love them as yourself. So that's what I try to do with everything I touch.
Very cool.
Everything. Yeah.
And with your anchor of faith, and then the cold plunge, and this kind of really cool wake-up regimen, how long did it take for you to notice a difference with you and those around you?
Oof. That's a very difficult question to think through, because sometimes you'll see immediate results, but that's like 1 out of 9 times, 1 out of 10 times that you'll see immediate results. I think for the most part, you actually see it's a process. Nothing is instant. There is no hack. There is process. There's time. There's investment. But there is no hack. At least I don't think there is. And I've tried. If anyone that knows me would go, Martin's tried every hack out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy, but the quote unquote hack, which is not a hack, is just the biological response that I have found most useful, is taking a cold plunge. It's essentially forcing myself to extreme levels of physical pain which primarily it's worse mental pain in that moment because you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You just don't want to do it. But in the long run, I would say the fruit of anything you do is 3 to 6 months ahead. Anything, whether it is in business or your religious life or family life, whatever you do, I think it's ultimately 3 to 6 months ahead, which is it's sort of a hell, right, for those 3 to 6 months, because you feel like you're waking up, taking blows at something, and not really seeing progress, which I think is a huge part of what contributes to a mental, or has contributed to a mental health decline in our culture. Is people don't, their lives are so complex, and when they make a change or another, they find themselves essentially making strives in purposeless strives. It's ultimately their efforts are futile, or it appears so, even though it isn't. But I guess with that in mind, I would actually encourage anybody that's started something, see it through completion, stick to it. I'm preaching to myself right there.
Yeah, there's something kind of beautiful about accomplishment, right? Speaking of mental health, it's like, hey, I did that. You know, like I've been starting to work out on the old tonal. You heard seeing these things?
How's that going?
I do like this little 20-minute. You wouldn't even think that I was working out, but I'm like pulling this stuff. And like when it's over, I'm like, oh, I did that. It's like a cool like little accomplishment thing.
Is this like you're pulling elastic bands? What do we?
I don't even know how to.
I'm not
describe
familiar
it.
with this.
Tonal, doesn't it use like, it's like magnetic
It's
friction?
called digital weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. It's actually really cool.
It is pretty sweet, actually.
All right.
It's actually very cool.
I want to try it.
Oh,
Look at that.
LeBron does it?
Yeah, but don't let that get you down.
Or is that a video of Clint doing it? Oh, there's a video of Clint doing it.
Yeah, that's me. That's me right there. So, yeah, don't let the fact that LeBron's their main spokesperson get you down. Although, I mean, he's in good shape, right?
You'd trade him for that body, theoretically.
I'd trade him for his whole life.
Right? I mean, Homeboy's making movies. The new Space Jam. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's supposed to be cool. I don't know. I don't really watch that much TV
My kids
myself.
watched Space Jam. They said it was good. I haven't seen the LeBron one. Obviously, I saw the Jordan one when I was a kid.
That was a good one. We're on a bit of a hot streak, regardless of the guest, in talking about Web3 and crypto. But you and old Scotty boy did something in relation to crypto, right?
Yes. So it was Scott Paul, Trent Mano, Sarah Kyle, Brooke Peterson, and myself launched this thing called Cryptopia. And
Yeah,
that was a trip.
Cryptopia was badass.
Cryptopia was so sweet.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we had 1,000 people in a church talking about crypto. I mean, those things, when do they come together? Right?
Only with you guys.
Yeah, it was cool. What about crypto? What do you think? Like, are
you done with it? Are you done with Cryptopia now?
No, we're still
Are you
going.
gonna keep doing it?
Oh yeah. We literally had a meeting like 2 months, month and a half ago.
Okay.
About what we're doing in 2024, and we're doing the Crypto Carnival, which there's gonna be a lot more coming for that. We're probably gonna do it sometime in like late summer.
What do you think the state of the industry is with crypto, particularly cryptocurrencies? What do you think? Where are we at?
Ooh.
Obviously, like you guys put out Cryptopia in its heyday, like when it was, at least as I remember it. Maybe you were doing it before then, but like you guys put out Cryptopia, and it's like, wow,
Yeah,
like,
we
this
started.
is a very hot topic, great timing, great event. Now, what does it look like?
We started it January of 22. In fact, it was November of 21 when Trent, Scott, and I met up in Hebron. We're like, hey, let's do like a thing with crypto, right? Educate people more on crypto. And then we did our first event in January of 22, and then had our big conference May of 22. And then things kind of hit the fan. Like it as far as what crypto was concerned, it was just like, it was a hockey stick, and all of a sudden just cock block 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of crashed and burned. Not Cryptopia, but crypto in general as a whole. My thoughts, I'm a huge Bitcoin proponent.
Yeah.
Uh,
Same. I think Bitcoin's great.
I think the fact that it's not a smart blockchain like Ethereum, for example, is part of what makes it reliable and awesome. It's like Toyotas. Toyotas aren't flashy and crazy awesome, but what do world governments and the UN and all these places around the world and powers around the world use? They use Land Cruisers. They don't have a CPU. They are literally 100% mechanical units. Anyway, point being, I'm a car guy, so I love cars.
I have a Tacoma, so
I have an FJ Cruiser.
hearing you praise Toyotas is great.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of what when I think of Bitcoin is sort of like the Toyota of blockchains.
I like that. That's a great analogy.
It's reliable. It's robust. It's somewhat mechanical, even though it's a crypto. I think it's gonna keep working. I think it's gonna keep going. If I had $1 million that I could spare, I'd buy Bitcoin.
You'd put it all in Bitcoin?
Well, not if it was the only million I had, but if I had an extra million, yeah, I'd put it in Bitcoin. I think it's making a comeback. It will continue to do so. Now, there's a flip side to that, where you have a number of projects and coins and tokens and all these things that I literally think are crap.
Well, almost all of the rest.
Yes. I would say Ethereum is a close second.
Ethereum's great.
Yeah.
Because it's usable. It's got, scale. It's got a great community. It's, it's actually the opposite of Bitcoin in like it's very usable. Ethereum.
Yes. There's a lot of applications
like
to it.
Bitcoin is like where you can really store value.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's anyways.
Also think about it this way. In a first world country like the United States, Ethereum has a much wider application, in my opinion. Bitcoin, on the other hand, has the power to overthrow governments. Like, that's a huge statement, I think.
Yeah, I always like when Web3 and cryptocurrency were really hot, and everyone had a YouTube channel and stuff, and they'd explain what that was the thing that they would lead with. It's like, this is going to overturn governments. I'm maybe.
And I think it has the power to.
Power to, for sure, and possibility. Don't say that out loud.
Well, it's
you know what I mean? Because and by the way, who do you think owns the most Bitcoin? I think it's probably the United States government.
At this point, probably. I think so. And I think it has a potential. However, we often tend to think in 10 to 25-year terms, right? But that's only a fraction of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at the last 100% of our lives has changed in the last 150 years. 150 years prior to this is and yet we think about the future, we're living it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage everyone to study a little bit of human history, get into anthropology, understand it a little bit, how the Industrial Revolution, how did it change things, and how it's changed the United States. Why is the United States where it is? Where are things heading from here, etc. Whether the United States has the most Bitcoin or not, which I'm prone to believe it potentially does, it will eventually instill change in one way or another, I think. In the future, I don't people are like, oh, what's the future like for you? Well, I kind of play the crockpot game, right? Slow burn, slow cook. I don't necessarily foresee myself reaching certain levels of success or certain dreams as much as I foresee my kids doing that and my kids' kids doing that. So I tend to look at a minimum 50 years down the road, and I can only really comprehend or even get an idea of what 100 years down the road look like.
Mm-hmm.
So anything can change at any speed.
Oh, yeah. When with AI,
oh, dude.
I don't even think our kids are going to work. It's possible our kids won't work. My kids don't work anyways.
They can all just be gentlemen farmers. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on AI? Overall, I've been neck deep in it. I have a lot of friends that are like building crazy stuff, and man, it is. It's apocalyptic, sort of, when you think about AI.
It's just it's game changing in a way that like Bitcoin may be like once it's like completely matured and things like that, and these various technologies. But I mean, everybody says this. I believe it as well, that it's bigger than the internet. I think it's
What is AI or Bitcoin?
AI.
Oh, AI. Yeah.
Yeah, I think AI changes everything about humanity.
I think
I
so
don't
too.
think that it rises up and murders us, though. I don't really know how it would do that.
Yeah.
Like able to reach GAI and then eventually like making its own decisions and wiping humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how it gets to that point.
I fundamentally believe that it doesn't, but it can be easily triggered too
Yeah.
by an individual, or like imagine if I don't know, some government gets a hold of this stuff that is too powerful. I don't know. I think it can be triggered too. However, it's only as smart as what you feed it, right? It does not.
It's still in its infancy too. Like, and these models, as great as they are, we're like version 0.1 on these things. Like, it hallucinates all the time. It's crazy. It's expensive. It's all these like kind of crazy things.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can imagine like this thing really mature. I mean, you saw what OpenAI put out last week, right? With Sora. That is
Dude.
incredible.
I know.
Now it's not open to the public yet, and so let's see how it actually looks and how it actually works and things like that. But that is unbelievable. I mean, within a year or two, it seems like we'll be able to make movies just ourselves, like just one person.
100%.
How crazy! Like, imagine being Disney right now, or or Hollywood right now. It seems to be the thing that's shocking me about AI most is that it's so great on the creative side of things. I would have expected the exact opposite, that it would have been better on like the analytical things, the math, all that type of stuff, which I'm sure it is good at. But man, its ability on the creative stuff is pretty wild.
I think it's because, it's a large language model, right? And it relies primarily on language and the understanding of language versus a thorough understanding of logic, right? That's why you can give it like, hey, make this drawing or whatever, and it makes people with 6 fingers. Like, it has a really hard time actually doing hands, which I think is super funny. And like it makes these weird deformities in the body. It just can't get them right. But it's because it's taking this concept. It's almost like AI is just looking through a dim mirror. Whatever you give it is through this dim mirror, and the objective is to make the mirror clear.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think of AI. Sort of the improvements of AI is ultimately not the subject of what you're feeding it, but it's how it sees through whatever that is that you have to clear up in order for it to more objectively see what you're feeding it.
Yeah, and these LLMs have been trained on everything ever published on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's since like what, the 90s?
Yeah. Right.
So what's the bias, what source, all this type of stuff. So there's a lot of kinks to work out. The thing that would make me nervous is we kind of just like stop. Like, the whole world is judged between 1990 to 2023, right? Because that's what these things were trained on.
That would
Kind of wild.
Oh no, I think about this all the time. If 20 to 30 years down the road, our knowledge is primarily coming from our understanding of the world from a 30 to 40 year span. Yikes.
Not good.
Yeah.
Too small.
I think there's just a lot of ancient knowledge and a lot of ancient things that we don't know, that we don't understand, that because like if we think about regular life, like people used to live in farms and used to grow their own food and used to do that kind of thing, and we don't really have a knowledge of that, as like the average individual doesn't. Even though we know theoretically how it can be done, but theory and practice, there's a chasm between those two.
Yeah. Have you read these stories where like these kind of rich millennials buy a farm because they want to do it for like Instagram and stuff and take cool pictures? And then they're like, this is actually so freaking hard.
I have none, but
to run a farm,
You have to
like
use
with
your brain.
animals and planting and like
that's funny to me.
yeah, it's way cool.
That's pretty funny.
AI can't control the weather, and if a pipe breaks and it needs to be fixed, AI is not fixing that. They don't plant the corn. They don't feed the cows.
Dude,
It
so I
doesn't.
want to know more about Nuri.
Yeah, Nuri. Do you guys know Sean Baer?
Not
Yeah.
personally.
Okay, so he's
You know.
awesome. Yeah, this is Nuri. It's an event app. Registration is extremely robust. Is this sort of enterprise event application? I mean, we're getting, like I said, 3,000 to 5,000 people registering using this thing on a daily basis.
Daily?
Daily.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3,000 to 5,000 registrations a day going through this. From partners and other people that are using it. For some reason, the images aren't loading here, but we have a very robust top of funnel, right? Which is essentially the registration piece. Registration alone is not enough to move the needle. So we're integrating AI, quite a bit of AI. So what we're building here is, imagine you register for an event and you connect your contacts in your phone to the app, and now you can see which of your friends are at this event. But then you get grouped based on an AI basis, right?
Like if your bios and things that you filled out kind of like match or things like that, then you're
Yeah.
like more likely to be connected with them than
correct.
us. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's based on this in the premises, and it's really easy to sort of divert from the vision here, but the premise is based specifically on in-person events, right? There's a power, and I think we've all experienced this over the last years. There's a power to actually meeting in person, being able to shake somebody's hand, being able to do what we're doing right now. If we were doing this over Zoom, I wouldn't be having the fun I'm having right now.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the premise. It's in-person connections. And so how do we utilize technology like AI, applications, etc., to connect people, not necessarily to be the subject of connection, but to be the vehicle by which they connect? That's what Nuri's doing. It's kind of a cool concept.
Yeah, that's way cool.
Of bringing people together and letting technology do so.
The matching part must be.
It's cool.
That's a really incredible thing. So you're at an event,
mm-hmm.
and like, here are the people that I really should talk to, and it kind of just does it for you. That's pretty freaking sweet, actually.
Well, it'll connect you to the people that are. So, for example, let's say there's a group, right? We're at a Silicon Slopes event, and who are the people that are into podcasting or like podcasts? The AI will know based on the public data available for those individuals. Create, and this it already does this. We're testing all this. It creates a group, and then it'll show you that group. Now you can actually see the amount of people that have been categorized under that group. But then the cool thing is it'll tell you who in your contacts matches that criteria. That's where it changes the game, because you can be like, oh, Susie is here, Mark is here, I'm gonna send him a quick text and like connect with them. When I go to events, I don't know, personally, I'm primarily an introvert, right? I don't talk to a lot of people unless I kind of have to.
I hate talking to people.
It's not my forte.
That's why we have this.
This is cool, actually.
This forces me to talk to people.
I for the most part will just like I text Scott all the time. Are you gonna be at this thing? And if he is, all right, I'll go. I'll be somewhat comfortable. Or anyone else in the community that I'm close with, I'll text them and just check if they're going to an event beforehand. And I think the vast majority of people fall in the introvert or ambivert sort of spectrum. I don't know a ton of extroverts myself, at least. Probably because the introverts just stick together and that's all you know. But
you know Scott Paul.
I know Scott Paul.
That's an extrovert.
He's the epitome of being an extrovert for sure. But yeah, and I think by and large what I'm wanting to solve through this and what Sean and I have set out to do is create better, easier in-person connections, and thus better and easier community management for the hosts. That's our objective with Nuri.
That's
And
cool.
I'm 5 weeks in, bro.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
That's way cool.
I'm excited for it.
Speaking of things making a comeback, like in-person events, San Francisco's making a comeback. Garrett, why don't you tell us about it? Let's go to a little. Martin, sometimes we do news.
A little bit of
Yeah,
news.
yeah. He was telling me a little bit
So
about that.
tell us the big news of the day, Garrett.
Yeah, so if you read this headline, tech leaders fled San Francisco during the pandemic. Now they're coming back. Founders and investors who moved to Miami and elsewhere are returning to a boom in artificial intelligence and an abundance in tech talent. Interesting because like San Francisco has just been the whipping boy for the last 4 years. Crime, feces on the ground, all the tech talent leaving, bad governance, too many restrictions. But it turns out when you've got a 50-year head start and trillions of dollars in capital and hundreds of thousands of smart folks, when something like AI comes and it comes quick, they're all kind of coming back.
Still the tech
ecosystem.
capital of the world.
Still the
I
tech
don't think that
capital of the
ever changed, actually. I think we kind of overhyped things like Austin and Miami and these various places as like replacing San Francisco. They do need to figure out their governance.
Yep.
They got to figure out, I mean, it's crazy. Like China's president can come to San Francisco and it's like the cleanest
The
city
cleanest
on
city in
Earth.
the world. Yep.
It's like
I did see that.
you can do that every day? That's crazy.
Like it's possible. Like you just showed us that it's possible.
It's so wild.
Yeah.
What, by the way, and iconic, one of the greatest cities in all of the United States.
Yeah.
If they just could figure that part out.
It's an amazing place on planet Earth. Interesting as well, a lot of these folks with lots of folding money don't really have to worry about anything like that ever again. They can just worry about building and doing things they like. They're getting involved in local politics. So if you want to change things, you can go top down or bottom up. They're going to go bottom up. They're backing candidates that are aimed.
Oh, yeah. This is like the Gary Tan, the Y Combinator guy. I believe David Sachs did something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. The billionaires getting engaged in that. That's a good idea.
But it's like city council and like neighborhood groups. And so they'll just, eat the elephant one bite at a time and get it back to where it should be. Because a lot of these folks were transplants over the last 20, 25 years from all across the world in America. And they're like, this isn't like when I came. It was a lot better. Let's just get it back to that. So the giant is awakening again, and it's probably a good thing.
Oh, a strong San Francisco is unbelievable for the country, for the world. You know what we downplay too much too is Stanford. Stanford being right there that's hard to beat.
Yep.
That's hard to replace.
And Cal.
For tech, AI, everything that, that's a world-class university right there. And, to be able to pull talent from there, everything that they've done, to lead up this. The thing that they have, you mentioned before, is they have a 50-year head start on everybody.
Yeah.
Good luck catching up to that.
Yep.
I think it's a course correction game. I think what happened post-COVID and the number of companies that are like, screw this, we're out, is either you fix yourself or you continue to wreck yourself. I think San Francisco is like, we started to really jerk the wheel this way. Let's jerk it the other way because clearly what we didn't work.
Yeah.
And also to see the fact that it can be great. We were just shown that if
that actually freaks me out. That story freaks me out. That China's president comes and the streets are like sparkling.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the map of
the poop map?
The poop map.
Yeah.
I think it cracks me. It cracks me up. I mean, it's so gross, but hey, that was fixed.
Really?
Well, no, it was fixed for one day for Homeboy.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say it's fixed now.
No.
Crazy.
No, but that's the thing, though. It has the potential, and we know how to do it, and we have every system in place to actually do that. I would love to live in San Francisco.
Again, one of the great cities.
Yeah.
It's right up there with New York City for me in terms of iconic incredible city, and it's hard to go there. I used
Yeah.
to go there like in 2017, 2018, 2019. I was there once a quarter, maybe even more, right? And visit because it was where if you're in tech, you had to be there. You had
Yeah.
to make that trip.
Yeah.
I haven't been back since then.
Oh
Yeah.
goodness, really?
Yeah.
Since
I
2019?
haven't been back since 2019.
Yeah, that was the
Whoa.
last time. I lived there from 2010 to about a year and a half into 2011. That's when Twitter was moving down into Market Street, and it was going through a transformation there in like a good way. And to go back in 2019, it was like, oh, we're going in the wrong direction. And then obviously it was compounded. But when that fog rolls in, you've got Alcatraz out there, perfect weather almost every day.
I know. That's the part that gets me.
Pretty darn cool. And such cool history and
By the way, guys, we're
natural
Silicon
beauty.
Slopes. We're trying to promote Utah. I feel like we're pushing people to San Francisco right now.
Well, here's the thing. I like the weather of San Francisco. I like the city,
The best.
but there's a different kind of culture in Utah. I think I've been neck deep in it, right? From trying to build it to being a part of it, through events, right? Like
Yeah, tell us about Restart Utah.
I decided to wear the shirt today. Restart Utah is it's like speed dating for businesses, right? So we like get all these decision makers and executives and CEOs and founders, etc., to join in this rotation. And it's a 3-minute rotation per company. So you actually get to build like one-to-one conversations, real relationships. There it is. And it's a really cool event. We've been doing it since 21. And the whole idea was let's restart post-COVID. Let's start something new. But it kind of stuck around, and we wanted to, to do something that was a little bit more intentional, as far as bringing companies on a business-to-business basis together. So this is one of my efforts in building community and in actually bringing people together in a tangible way. We did that with Cryptopia. I did that with Paul Shin with Tacos Together. That was a cool like experiment of like, hey, let's feed people tacos. And the very first Tacos Together actually happened at our venue at the Slopes.
Oh, really?
I was right there with him. He actually texted me. He's like, hey, I have this idea. I want to feed people tacos and network. Like, well, I'm Mexican, so it works. Let's do tacos. And so we did that pretty heavily for like a couple of years, I think.
It's still going, right?
It's still going. It's not like as event heavy as it was before. And Paul has taken, a bunch of different other things. And so I think what he built here was awesome, organic, authentic.
Absolutely.
And so that's the kind of thing that I don't think you see in some of these other big cities. I don't think you see that kind of inclusivity in places like San Francisco or New York or Austin. And Austin has an awesome food scene. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I love it. Torchy's.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
guys been to Torchy's? The taco place?
No, I've never been.
Okay, next time you're in Austin, hit up Torchy's.
Yeah, Austin's great too.
Dude, it's freaking sweet. It's awesome.
Where are we in Provo, Utah? Let's move.
Sounds
One
like
of
we
these
need to
cooler
move.
cities.
I think Provo's awesome.
No, yeah,
Like
Provo is.
I think Utah is really cool. Like I said, it's not just the people in the culture that has been developed here. But there's like, I feel like there's a real unity and people actually care about each other.
Well, I think
Right.
what makes it unique too is everybody pushes on things like you're doing Restart Utah, Paul's doing Tacos Together, Cryptopia, all of these like really great events, and you all work together and collaborate with each other, and it's not like competitive. It's not.
Right.
It's like, we're just doing this for Utah, and we've all got our actual day jobs as well.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty beautiful.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the Silicon Slopes Summit is a ginormous family reunion.
Yeah.
What it is.
Yeah, it is a reunion.
I show up to it and it's like, my goodness, bro, sis, I haven't seen you guys in freaking 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And it's, I don't know. I love it for that reason.
Yeah, it would save us a lot of money if we just rented out some warehouse
Yeah.
and just made it really easy for everybody to talk to each other. Didn't have speakers, any programming, no agenda, anything like that. Because, Yeah, the thing that everybody gets the most out of it is just talking to each other in the halls, going to have lunch with each other, that type of stuff. That's the big benefit of it.
Yeah.
I'd love to be involved. I don't know what you guys are doing
You're in.
24, but I'd love to. Let's sit down and let's figure out how we can make that be more organic. I don't know.
Boom.
Down to help.
Let's do it.
I love it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
The more the merrier.
Do you have, yeah, by the way, you can have it if you involved. Do you want it? My word, that thing is a mammoth of a thing that we've created, and we've got to figure out how to keep it
It just keeps coming back every year.
It's like the thing you can't get
Oh my
away from. It's like
gosh.
once you get it done, you're like, oh. And then like 9 months later, you're like, oh crap, gotta get this back up.
Yeah.
You know this because you do events.
Yeah,
They are so hard.
events aren't easy.
They are just, and it's mind-numbing work. It's like most of it's spreadsheets, and you're in Gmail sending. It's like, ugh. Yeah. And we actually, when you say summit around us, we're like, who wants it?
Who wants it?
Let's get rid of it.
I
Now,
was so happy up until 3 seconds ago.
Look how depressed he got just thinking about it. No, but
I'm
we
sorry,
would
bro.
love to have you engaged in it, and anyone else. In fact, we're bringing Summit back to its original dates, back to January, because when COVID hit, we couldn't do it in January.
Right,
that
I
year.
remember
And
that,
so we had
yeah.
to go to the fall, and then we just did fall again. And now we're like, because we had this partnership with Sundance that we've rekindled, and we're doing it again, where we premiere films with them and things like that.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, this is the year where we course correct and go back to the way everything originally was pre-COVID.
Does that mean now
It's-
you get an extra 3 months?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And-
Nice. Hey,
and
that's a good thing.
And that. So we actually won't technically do one in 2024.
That's what I
the
was
next
thinking,
one
yeah.
will be January 25.
January 16th, 17th.
Dude,
Yeah,
love
we
it.
have dates, everything. I think we might be breaking news right now. I don't know if we've announced any of that, but
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
Boom.
you got it out of us, man.
Hey, my pleasure.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Dude, that was
Seriously, everybody check out EventStack. Restart Utah is happening what, next month?
It's March 21st, 22nd. Anyone that sees this, hit me up. And if like, just go on the Restart Utah thing, and we're actually like making a spot just for tech companies. And so normally we limit the amount of companies per industry, right? So it's not like a room full of your competitors. But in the tech space, what we've seen is there's so many unique different silos and industries and sections, categories, etc. So if you guys want to come, hit me up. I would love to bring you guys on board, have you guys there. I don't know if I've talked to anybody from Silicon Slopes yet, but you guys have a reserved booth already. So looking forward to having you guys as well.
Yeah, sweet. I think it's a great event. Thanks for everything you do for Utah.
Dude,
Congrats on all
My
the
pleasure.
success. EventStack's incredible.
thank you.
Neuro looks incredible. It's probably a platform we should talk about, actually, and integrating it with various Silicon Slope stuff that we do.
I think
Uh,
you'd be surprised at how robust it is,
Yeah.
right? Like the amount of tickets that we can handle in all of our back end. Because our back end, you don't have to use our front end, right? So you can, like, if you have a front end for Silicon Slopes or whatever, there's this entire back end that does all the heavy lifting, but you've got your brand, you've got your tickets, you've got your presence, your own SEO, your own optimization, all of that kind of stuff. So we'd love to help.
Love it.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you, everyone. Again, today's show is brought to you by the Masters of Business Creation at the University of Utah. Go to eccles.utah.edu/MBC. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Brandy Vega from Vega Media Studios tomorrow.
Brandy's in here tomorrow.
She's
Very
also a
cool.
good friend of mine, by the way.
She's great.
I love what she's doing.
That'll be a fun one.
Thanks, y'all.